When Munzali came to me and told me about these books, I said to him, we need to write our own story. And this is what we do not do enough of, especially in this part of the country. Winston Churchill famously said, history will be kind to us because we intend to write it. If you don't write your history, someone else will write it for you. And the history of Kano is not complete without the history of the established business and commercial families that built that economy over centuries. The interesting thing about works like this is that they're works of biography, but you're looking at an entire society and its history through the life of an individual who lived in historical times. Tolstoy in War and Peace speaks about the hedgehog and the fox. And there's this whole debate in history. Is history made by a series of contingent, unplanned convergence of circumstances? Or is it made by great individuals? And the truth is that it is both. No matter what circumstances you find yourself in, it takes individuals of a certain brilliance, a certain courage, a certain imagination to take advantage of those opportunities and make something of it. And no matter how brilliant you are, if the opportunities do not exist, you will not succeed. So the success of the Dantata family is a success of individual brilliance and the enabling environment of Kano. The two are inseparable. And for me, I think this is the main thing we're going to find from reading these books. I have not read the books, but I can imagine this is the main takeaway. Learning from the life of the individual, but also learning from the environment that was created for those individuals to thrive and for them to succeed. Usually at times like this, we tend to have personal anecdotes about individuals. Alhaji Aminu Dantata was my father's classmate in middle school. But not just that. When my father married, Alhaji Aminu Dantata was his best man. So there is a historical family link. And I usually, when I think of people, I try to remember one or two important things that define them for me. And that is what I hold on to as a memory. And the one thing I've held on to with Alhaji Aminu is a story of something that happened between me and my father. So my father retired from the civil service as permanent secretary in 1978-79. He borrowed money from UBA to build his house in Kaduna. And interest rates then were like 3% or 4%. Then suddenly, in the 1980s, we had structural adjustment. And if you remember, there was a time interest rates went as high as 40%. For a retired civil servant, his entire pension was being wiped out by interest. So he told me that in a casual conversation with Haj Aminu, he mentioned this problem. He said, I don't understand this economics. How can I borrow money at 3% and then now I'm paying at 20-something percent? My pension cannot pay interest. So Haj Aminu said to him, Chiroma, let's do something. Let me give you all the money you owe the bank. Go and pay it, and then you can pay me back without interest. This is the one thing I hold on to. It is the one thing by which I will always remember him. As a matter of personal principle, I never forget those who honored my parents. I also don't forget who dishonored them. But I don't forget those who honor them and those who are kind to them. God help you if you are ever unkind to any of them, because I will never forget. So we're here to celebrate a family. We're here to celebrate a man. But we're here to celebrate Kano. This is the Kano that produced the Dantata family. This is a Kano that has produced, even today, the two richest men in Africa, Aliko Dangote. This is the Kano that is built on a culture of excellence, on a determination to be the best in everything, be it religious scholarship, intellectual discourse, commerce, and tradition. And for me, the most important thing is we must all continue to commit to saving the spirit of Kano and saving the soul of Kano. And I've said before, for all those who think they can bring down Kano, you are wasting your time. It will never happen. I wish all of us successful launching of the book. I congratulate Munzali for this work. I tried very hard to get my father to write his biography and he refused. But I think that he was able to convince Alhaji Aminu to do that is when we should do more and more of this. There are many elders who have lived through these times. Recording from them is recording our history. If we do not know where we are coming from, we do not know where we are going, and we are lost. We have a history. That history is rich. That history is original. That history is great. We should be proud of that history. But more important, we're all going to die. And the big question is, what history are we going to leave? Thank you.
May we be seated, but the sitting should come with a resounding applause for our very, very revered, intellectual, very patriotic Emir, who spoke to us from the position of depth. Some very, very strong takeaways that I took note of from his very brief comment. They are worth rekindling so that we can ponder and introspect very, very properly. The reference to us writing our stories ahead of others writing it for us, I think it's quite profound. It's instructive. Thank you very much, Your Royal Highness. And of course, how Kano stands historically, and that its history can't be complete if we don't look at those whose enterprise also contributed to its growth and development. Another very quick takeaway from the message of our father is whether or not history is of unplanned circumstances and how that combines with great individuals who enrich it. But again, the submission is that success of individual brilliance is complemented by the enabling environment that Kano has provided. I think this is also very, very instructive. A final profound thought that the revered Emir shared with us is, of course, how we shouldn't forget those who honored our parents. And by that token, please don't forget who dishonored your parents as well. Thank you. So coming from the custodian of the walls, symbolically, the title of the book says a lot to what the walls are. The custodian of a resilient city that has been consistent historically. Please put your hands again one more time for the Emir. So we're taking more goodwill messages. I am told that one more addition has been made to the list of goodwill messages. But the next one, of course, is equally as important as the one you just heard. Coming from another traditional ruler, our father, the Emir of Lafia, who I did introduce to us earlier, that is represented by Baradin Lafia, Alhaji Liman Musa Kwande, for goodwill message. Thank you. Please, can we?
Mai martaba Sarkin Kano, masu girma gwamnoni da sanatoci da 'yan majalisa. Abinda na lura shine tun mutumin da na wannan zaure yanzu babban mutum ne, kuma na san kusan a ciki kashi 100 na san 70 ba zan ya kira sunansu ba, tun na san mukamin da sun rike a Najeriya. Kuma wannan tebur ba nawa ba ne, don sai da gaisuwa ne na mai martaba sarkin lafiyan bare-bari Justice Sidi Bage Muhammad. Yanzu yana birnin Kebbi, suna taron sarakuna na Najeriya gaba ɗaya. Ya nuna mini damuwansa rashin zuwansa wannan wurin saboda aminci da ke tsakaninsa da marigayi Alhaji Dantata, kuma ya ce mani cewa har da 'ya'yansa duk sarakunan arewa gaba ɗaya bayan sarkin Kano sai ya ga sunansa yana cikin royal father na wannan biki. Ya ce babu karrabawa wanda zuriyan Alhaji Dantata za su yi masa wanda ya fi wannan. Saboda haka in isar da gaisuwarsa zuwa wurin mai martaba sarkin Kano da kuma iyalan Alhaji Dantata. Allah ya ramshe shi, Allah sai yana gidan aljanna. Yana muku fata yadda Alhaji Dantata ya gama lafiya, kuma ku gama haka lafiya. Yana fata kuma wannan taro inda an zo lafiya a koma lafiya. Allah ya sauke mu lafiya, mai martaba ranka da.
I'll ask for a warm applause again, one more time for our traditional ruler and father. Thank you for the goodwill message. So quickly, we'll take 2 more. The next on the line for goodwill messages is His Excellency, the former governor of Kano State. Please put your hands together as I welcome Senator Your Excellency.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم ما شاء الله لا قوة إلا بالله. Your Excellency, the Executive Governor of Kano State, ably represented here by the two honorable commissioners. Your Excellency, the former Senate President, a friend and colleague, Your Royal Highness, Khalifa Dr. Sunusi Lamido Sunusi II, the Emir of Kano, other Royal Highnesses here present, distinguished and respected elders and statesmen here present, my very dear brothers and sisters, the author and his family. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Let me join earlier speakers, particularly His Royal Highness, in extending my words of congratulations to the author of these two books. He has done us proud, not only as a member of the family of Dantata, but also as a citizen of our great state of Kano. I congratulate you for this effort and for this commitment. I pray others will emulate this in writing our history and the history of our great citizens. I wish to quickly extend my personal thanks and gratitude to our father, Alhaji Dr. Munzali Dantata. As mentioned by the Honorable Commissioner of Commerce, I'm also a very proud product of what today is known as Aminu Kano Community Commercial College. Alhaji Munzali Dantata and Alhaji Tanko Yakasei are the only two living and surviving of the 9 or 10 great men of Kano that came to establish what today is known as Aminu Kano Commercial College in 1967. Aminu Kano, Munzali Dantata, Alhaji Yusuf Maitama Sule, late Sani Gezawa, Ahmadu Trader, Tanko Yakasei, Esraka, and two others that I will not be able to recall. Pardon? Magaji Dambata, exactly. Came together in 1967 in their foresight when the unfortunate Awari came. At that time, when Kano started, and the unfortunate civil war was almost imminent, over 80% of the clerical staff in Kano were of the Igbo stock. and they were all made to leave Kano. Kano assembled these great men and thought that unless Kano produces its own clerical officers, accountants, and other related secretarial studies responsibilities, Kano will not survive. And they took up the challenge and established Kano Community Commercial College. The important thing that we need to have a takeaway on this is that their personal contribution. The Masanin Kano donated his large store by the corner of the Unity Road. That's where we started. Ezraka gave the donation of the benches and desk. Aminu Kano was coming around to give us his hikayoyin Kaifa Bazukata. And that's one of the things that really brushed us up all along. I remember one of the things he used to tell us anytime he came to address us at an assembly, zai ce kun ga kantin batan nan da ake magana, a sannan duk wani ɗan binni so yake a kai shi a saya mar takalmin bata. Yace batan nan fa baduku ne. Gyaran takalmi yake da su shayin a bakin titi a Turai. Yana gyara slippers. Har yazo yana gyara, yana making, yana waye har dai ya zama ya buɗe shago na gyaran takalmi. Bata became what he became. Yace to in kuna son kuma a ji ku a duniya ku tsaya, two things that he kept telling us. And I kept telling my students for the 13 years that I was a school principal. He said, two key words to success in life. Number one, good conduct. Number two, hard work. This Amin Kano always tell us whenever he came around. And of course, Amin Dantata donated the staff salaries, the facilities that made us to work. Alhamdulillah, today, here we are, life, fruits of what they did. So we shall forever remain grateful to Aminu Dantata. And I also have another personal gratitude to him. Don't laugh. Shi ya bani yarsa da na aura. Professor Fatima Gaji Dantata, one of the 4 dearest wives I have today, she completes the cycle. And but for Aminu Dantata, the cycle wouldn't have been completed. I remain grateful to our father, Aminu Dantata, for what he did. And I also thank the writer for bringing out the legacies of Aminu Dantata. We thank you very much for this. May Allah continue to bless him, bless the family, and may we have as many authors from Kano and other parts of the country as the current author we come to celebrate today. Thank you for giving us the opportunity to be part of this history. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
You've just heard from His Excellency, the former Executive Governor of Kano State, Senator Ibrahim Shekarau. If you didn't hear anything in all that he said, you would have heard that he said he's a son-in-law to the patriarch of the Dantata family. Please put your hands together for distinguished Senator. Yes, we'll take 2 more goodwill messages, but I have quick introductions to run through. You will forgive me that I'm acknowledging you late, the representative of the Managing Director, Chief Executive Officer, Kano Electricity Distribution Company, Dr. Alhaji Abubakar Jimeta. Please, can you put your hands together? You're welcome, sir. There's also Her Excellency, former Minister of State, Trade and Investment, former Nigerian representative to UNESCO. Please join me to warmly welcome Her Excellency Ambassador Miriam Yalwaji Katagum. Please put your hands together for her. I've also been informed that the former ALGOM chairman, Kano State, is here. Honorable Lamin Sani Zawiya, and another Alhaji Dahiru Idi. Please, if you're here, just wave to us. Welcome. Thank you very, very much. So, 2 quick goodwill messages for a wrap. Please put your hands together as I invite us to welcome very warmly a member of the Dantata family who will give a goodwill message on behalf of the entire family. Please put your hands together as I invite to speak with us for 2 minutes, Alhaji Ahmadu Dantata.
I didn't know if I could be able to do this. I was contemplating back and forth, but I felt I owe it to the family and to Chairman to at least share what Chairman meant to all of us and to Kano State. So this is a tribute to Baba Mama. You know Chairman Alhaji Aminu Dogo. We know him as Baba Mama. So, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa ta'ala wa barakatuh. Distinguished guests, respected elders, beloved family members and friends, I greet you all with peace. It's truly an honor to stand before you today to speak about a man who meant so much to each and every one of us. Our father, our grandfather, our brother, friend and pillar, Chairman, whom I'm fondly called Baba Mama. Let me tell you a bit about Baba Mama. My earliest memories of him go back when I was a child growing up in the home right across the street from him. Everything in our house, and indeed the entire neighborhood, seemed to revolve around Baba. Anytime something happened, Baba, Chairman. He was a center of attention, figure to everyone, that everyone turned to him. I remember asking my mom, "Who is Baba?" And she said, "He's my dad." From that moment, the name Baba Mama became a part of my world to everyone around him. He was a focal point, a strong, commanding presence who held the family together. Though I wasn't around to witness how he was with his parents, I often hear him speak fondly of them and his brothers, especially Alhaji Ahmadu, whom I was named after, whom he describes as the best person he has ever known. Just like I tell him, "You are the best person that I have ever known." Me and Chairman were neighbors. There were many a times I'd walk across the street just to stay and talk to him for hours. We discussed everything and nothing. And I once told him that one of my dreams was to sit on a table with him, Alhaji Ahmadu and Alhaji Alasan, just to talk, listen, and see what conversation would be like. That was how I deeply admired him and the way he spoke about the people he loved. Chairman, as he was fondly called, was everything to everyone whose life he's touched. His parents, his wives, his grandchildren, his daughters, his community. He had a remarkable way of giving time and attention to all. Fridays were open to everyone, with evening reserved for dining with his friends. Sundays, or we call it Lahadi, as we were sacred family days dedicated entirely for togetherness. And when I say everyone, I mean everyone, no matter where each one of us was. Sunday lunch, Oladi brought us a whole family together. To me, though, he was more than just a grandfather. To quote him, wannan yayana ne kuma abokina ne kuma yana tunanin ya fi ƙarfi na. Baba was my brother, my best friend, and my mentor. So many things wrapped in one. I don't think I've ever fully grieved his passing. I still remember the exact day where I was when I got the call. At first, I didn't believe it. Even as the call kept coming in, despite sensing the situation, I just couldn't imagine a world without him. That's how strong he was, not just physically, in spirit, in principle, in presence, and in heart. Even today, before I make any decision, I often pause and ask myself, what would Baba Mama think? Would he be proud of that? Would he approve? Sometimes I even hear his words in my head, guiding me or telling me off. Like my mom said, I'll try and keep this short. Though honestly, I could write an entire book about him, just like my dad did. But I want to share just a few of my thoughts of what Baba Mama meant to me, meant to us. You see, Baba had a unique way of making each of us feel special, like we were all his best friends. And that sentiment, I know his friends, my cousins, and even his children share. We were all Baba Mama's best friends. Last night, I was getting ready for bed. One of my cousins joked, I bet you're going to wear all white tomorrow, just like Baba. I'll go all in on that. I said, I'll even do you one better. I laughed and I told him, I'll be wearing his cap, his shirt, his undergarments, his socks. I'm fully embedded in Baba Mama today. I carry Baba Mama. I'm fully dressed in Baba Mama because I carry him everywhere I go. He's always in my heart, in all our hearts. So this is for you, Baba Mama. Thank you, everyone. And yeah. May Allah forgive his shortcomings. Sorry, I'm a bit all over the place. So may Allah forgive his shortcomings, grant him eternal peace, and reunite us all with him in Jannatul Firdaus. And to everyone here, family, friends, and well-wishers, thank you for coming to honor him, to remember him, and to celebrate the beautiful legacy left behind. Assalamu alaikum.
Thank you very much. Very profound legacy and a very touching moment, emotional moment there, from a young man whose life apparently has been shaped by the patriarch of the family. I've been told that there's one more final goodwill message. On behalf of Ambassador Yahya Kwande, the author will give us a very, very brief goodwill message. Please put your hands together as I welcome the author, Dr. Munzali Dantata.
Assalamu alaikum. Stand on existing. We wanted to play a video with a recording of Alhaji Yahya. Yes. We have heard from Alhaji Yahya Kasai, who was a good friend of Alhaji Dantata and his contemporary, though he's older than him, from the same Kano State. another good friend is Alhaji Yaya Kawande, who I approached to grace this occasion. But unfortunately, by the way, he's around the same age with Alhaji Dantata, and it's not very easy for him. So he said he would like me to read this tribute to Alhaji Dantata, which he sent me from his hometown by WhatsApp when we couldn't get the video. A tribute to a friend, a brother, and a patriot, Alhaji Dantata, by His Royal Highness Alhaji Ambassador Dr. Yaya Kawande, the Longo of Go Chiefdom in Plateau State. I join Nigerians, and particularly the good people of Kano, to mourn the passing of my friend and my brother, Alhaji Dantata, who died recently at the age of 95. His death is a deep personal loss, as it is a national one. A towering figure in Nigeria's economic and philanthropic history, Alhaji Aminu was not just a name, he was an institution. The Dantata family name is etched in the historical and commercial fabric of Kano and Nigeria at large. His father, Alhaji Alasan Dantata, was reputed to be one of the first African millionaires in pre-independence era. But Alhaji Aminu built on that legacy with grace, vision, and generosity that I know. I first met Alhaji Aminu Dantata in 1959, shortly after I was posted from the Northern Premier's office in Kaduna to Kano to serve as administrative officer. We instantly connected as age mates, and eventually our brotherhood grew and it knew no bound. Our friendship blossomed over 6 decades and spanned both public and private spheres. For more than 10 years, we have performed the Umrah and Hajj together. These were not just spiritual journeys, but opportunities to relive shared memories with friends like Umar and Abba, Sheikh Isiaq Rabiu, and others that we travel with. He was also a man of impeccable integrity. Honesty was his guiding principle, and he avoided individuals of questionable character. His sense of duty and patriotism was reflected in his service as a commissioner under Governor Audu Bako, and later as a respected leader within the National Party of Nigeria, NPN. I recall vividly his crucial intervention during the NPN convention that produced Alhaji Shehu Shagari as the party's presidential candidate. Though not loud in his political posturings, he was a stabilizing voice and a strategic mind behind the scenes. Despite his wealth and global investments, he remained disarmingly humble. His signature white kaftan and white cap, devoid of lavish embroidery, mirrored his simple soul. His warm, humorous approach, a master of gentle pranks and timeless jokes. Our friendship became family in 2006 when my son married his daughter. The Dantatas and the Kawandes have forever bonded since. Alhaji Aminu was also a deeply spiritual man, well-versed in Quran and devoted to spreading of Islam. I will miss his early morning calls, his surprise visits to me in Jos, and most painfully his absence at my coronation as the Long Ko of Ko Chiefdom. on July 17th, 2025. He had wished me well, even if he worried that the demands of my time as a traditional leader might distract me from my spiritual devotion in my advanced age. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala grant my beloved friend Munzali Dantata a permanent place in Al-Jannah Firdaus. Amen.
That was a goodwill message on behalf of Ambassador delivered to us quite eloquently by the author himself. Thank you very much. I'll request that we put our hands together one more time. I hope we're not tired. Yes. Thank you. So if we would be generous with more goodwill messages, we won't leave here, given the profile and stature of the persons for whom we are gathered today. But I have been told that we won't let goodwill messages go or end until and unless we get a very prominent person to speak to us, and that will be the last. Before then, let me take very, very quickly a few introductions that have reached me. I am oblivious of the presence of the representative of the very revered His Eminence, the Sultan of Sokoto. I am not aware. I would like to ask for forgiveness. The Sultan of Sokoto, Alhaji Mohammed Saad Abubakar, CFR, I've been told is represented here today by Megirma Durban Sokoto. Please, from wherever you are, we are greeting you. We're extending our reverence to you, please. We're very sorry. So very quickly, Honorable Saudatu Sani, former member of the House of Representatives from Kaduna State, is also here. Can you just wave to us from where you are? Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you. Likewise, Ambassador Mukhtar Kashash, who I am told has also been here and has not been recognized. Please, can you just say hello to us from where you are? Welcome, sir. Thank you very much. So, like I said earlier, I'll crave on your indulgence. We'll take just one last goodwill message, coming this time from the Senate, the former president of the Nigerian Senate, Dr. Bukola Saraki, CON, Commander of the Order of the Niger. Goodwill message. Thank you very much. Your Excellencies, Your Highnesses, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, received a prompting by the organizers that the Senate President will perform two roles in one, since we are pressed for time. He's going to, in his capacity, also be the chief launcher of the book. Can we put our hands together in that regard? Thank you.
A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim. Bismillahir rahmanir rahim. The governor of Kano State were represented, Your Excellency, the Vice President, were represented by my dear brother, Dr. Aliyu Modibo, Your Highness, Ahmed Sanusi, the second Emir of Kano, Your Highness, the Emir of Lafia, were represented. Our elders, elder statesmen that are here, Alhaji Dalatu, Alhaji Mutalam, Your Excellency, the former governor of Kano State, distinguished senator, my dear brother, members of the family of Dantata that are here, distinguished ladies and gentlemen. It gives me great honor to be here this morning, to be present at this occasion. When I left my house this morning, I was just coming here in my personal capacity to respect and great honor to a great man. I was then asked if I could also step in as the chief launcher. To be a chief launcher at an event of an illustrious son from Kano State by an indigenous of Ilorin. It's a great task. So I called Taju. I said, Taju, are you trying to make sure that this month will be a difficult month for me? He said, no. He said, it's because we want to honor you, because we know how much you have love for our father. I said, yes, that is not in dispute. He was a father to me and I had great love for him. So I said, that is my role as chief launcher. On the Naira aspect, I'll still leave it to the Kano indigenous. So everybody knows what they are gifted at. Your Excellency, Your Excellency, it is a gift that has been given to Kano. As you say, Munzali Dantata's generation have kept it. The next generation too is holding on to it. So we will not dispute it with you. We give it to you. And so when the time comes, I will call those that will join me in that task and that responsibility. But on all seriousness, today we are celebrating a book, but in reality and in truth, we are celebrating a great man. We're celebrating a man that has impacted on many people. We're celebrating the journey of his life, those he inspired, his wisdom, the opportunities he created for many people, the knowledge he passed on to many, his patriotism and his love for this great country. Let me commend the author, Munzali, for this, because as the Ryan has said, if you do not write it, people will not know how great men like Baba Chairman was. For those of us that had the honor to encounter him, it's a blessing, which I hope the book will give opportunities for those who didn't have that opportunity to read about him. For me personally, I'm going to just talk about 3 particular occasions that I always remember. My first time of meeting Baba Chairman, it was in the early 90s. And I just come back from the UK, and I was the executive director of State General Bank. I was sitting in my office, and I was told by the intercom that Munzali Dantata was downstairs at the bottom of Sarah House, and he was coming up. I said, coming up? I said, no, let me go down. Before I knew it, I walked into my office. He was holding his own file. In those days, as versatile as it was a time they were exporting cotton in West Africa. So WASA applications had gone to Central Bank, and his payments were being held by Central Bank. I said, Alaji, you don't need to come. He said, no, young man, I will come myself. I said, no, sir. He came himself. He disarmed me because he came by himself. By the time Alaji left the office, you will not believe, I was ED, I entered my car, took his file, I went to Central Bank myself, followed his file until he made sure he got payment. And you know the amazing thing, 2 years later, he was one of the few in the customers in the bank that devaluation did not meet in 1995 because he had made up and got out of his way. And since then, for some reason, we struck it off. And he had a great fun. One learned from him, you can never win any negotiation with chairman. You just go there and say, chairman, what do you want? And accept. If you try, you're just wasting your time. But those are people know him from his business, but I spent many nights with him talking about Nigeria. He will call me and I'll go and sit with him. And this, I'm sure some parts that many people don't know about him. He will sit you down, and he used to say to me, in the last few years, he said, Senator, I'm sad. This Nigeria, I'm living like this. Please, you people do something. It brings me sadness. And you could see his love for this great country. And he wanted us to assure him that this country will get better. He said, how can I be happy when in the 70s when I bought my first house, it was $1 to £1 to one naira. Today is hearing 1,000. This breaks his heart. And this was how it wasn't just about him. He was always thinking about how this country will be better. That was the political aspect of him that most people did not see. I listened carefully when the grandson came up. He used to tell me, and I saw the love he had for the children and the grandchildren. He had great love. When you go and visit him in Mecca, he's surrounded by his friends. And who are his friends? It's his family, his children and his grandchildren. He lived a life for us to learn many from. Just recently, one of his grandsons had a child, and I wanted to test Alhaji Aminu. So I said to him that, I think one of your grandsons just had a baby. He looked at me. He said, Senator, are you trying to test my... It's Aminu. Aminu just had a baby, told me what time, told me how the baby was. That should show you how much he knew every single child and granddaughter. And in the last occasion, just a few weeks before he died, Alhaji Aminu had some dollars he wanted to sell. So I went on a Friday thinking I could catch him out. So he said, what's the rate? I told him. He said, no. He said, Senator, you are giving me Friday rate. You know that by Monday, this rate is going to go up. So see me on Monday, you come back on Monday. This was a 93-year-old man. This is the blessing from Almighty Allah. It's a great loss not only for Kano, it's a great loss for Nigeria. His love for this country, his commitment to the love of this country. For me, I learned so much from him. For me, I continue to pray that the Dantata family and the extended family will continue his legacy. And that what we're doing here for other generations yet unborn who will learn from him and play their own role in building this great country. May Allah continue to grant my Jannah Firdaus, and may Allah continue to bless the family, the entire family, because this man, words cannot express how he was such a colossal man in this country. Your Highness, you are blessed. The Kano is blessed by having such indigenous, and may God continue to bless Kano and the entire Nigeria. Thank you for this opportunity. Few remarks. I would like to also move straight to formally launch these two books, Behind the City Wall and Aminu Dantata, Life and Times. But before I do that, I would like to call, as I said, those that have the financial muscle to play their role. As a politician, I have played my role. There's the oratory part of it. So I'll now call all the MDs of banks, those who are sitting in front, those that are sitting at the back. It's no difference. MD and chairman of Jais Bank, if you're here, please come forward. Where is it? MD and chairman of Jais Bank. Would you want me to call you in person so that we're looking for you to come and join me here? Our father, the former chairman and First Bank, out of honor, you can join us from your seats and play your role in guiding us. The EDs of the two banks, Fidelity, Union and Keystone, EDs of Unity and Union and Fidelity, and the MD of Keystones. The EDs for our purpose of today are MDs. Where are they? The two EDs. Barka, how are you? So, where are the EDs? Have they disappeared at this time where we need them? Okay. So hereby, can we have the books? Yeah, just the two books. Okay. Thank you very much. One each of the books. Okay. The two books that were all gathered here: Munzali Dantata, Life and Times of a Nigerian Entrepreneur, Commerce, Industry, and the Making of Modern Nigeria, and Behind the City Wall. On behalf of myself, my family, I want to make a noble contribution of 50 million naira for these two books. I would, on that note, yield to my co-launcher, senior financial launcher, who will now contribute. Who's wearing many caps? You know that. So over to you.
أعوذ بالله السميع العليم من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. Your Royal Highnesses, Your Excellencies, I also happen to have the privilege of being a junior colleague of the former Senate President. We were both executive directors. When he was in Societe Generale, I was in FSB International Bank as executive director. So I think it's out of respect to my senior colleague in the banking industry and also as the number 3 candidate. The best I can do is to stand slightly behind him. And he's also taller than me. But before whatever I'm going to declare on behalf of the bank, the history of Islamic finance in Nigeria is not complete without the mentioning our late elder statesman, Alhaji Dr. Aminu Alhassan Dantata. I am also pleased to recognize and acknowledge the immense contribution of His Royal Highness, the Emir of Kano, Sanusi Lamidu Sanusi II, when he was the governor of Central Bank. He actually put his career on the line to create all the necessary regulatory framework and all the support to make sure that we, the operators, have a very clear regulatory framework and a level playing field to establish the first Islamic bank in Nigeria. Your Excellency, thank you. The history of Islamic finance will also not be complete without acknowledging the immense contribution of my founding chairman and founding member, Dr. Alhaji Umarum Abdul Matalla. Thank you, sir. We have others that are not here but present with us in spirit. We have Dr. Muhammadu Indimi. We have Alhaji Ali Kodangote. We have the Islamic Development Bank. We have Dr. Musbahu Muhammad Bashir, and many others that time will not permit me to mention. Now, two very short incidences. The first time in the history of Jais Bank we held our annual general meeting outside Abuja was in Kano in July 2023. And out of respect, the board paid a courtesy call on our late father and chairman. And one of the directors told him, "Sir, we thank you for all your efforts in establishing the first Islamic bank in Nigeria. And all this, the investment that you have made today, the price is this, the dividends you got is this." So he just asked him to stop there. He said, "Young man, kasani dan kaswani. So this capital that I gave you, believe me, if it's with me, I would have turned it at least 4 times and get 4 times return. I invested in Jais Bank because our people want halal banking. It's a long struggle, and we want to give our people what they want." He went out to say, "Look, at my age, and I don't want to go to heaven on the day of, Qiyamah, Allah will ask me, with all the endowments or all the things that I gifted to you, when they were struggling to establish Islamic bank in Nigeria, what did you do?" And I will have no answer to give Allah. So it's for this reason that I invested in Jais Bank, not because of these returns that you are seeing. Today, alhamdulillah, Jais is the pioneer. We are still the industry leader. We are the flagship. And this all goes, to the immense contribution of late Alhaji Munzali Dantata. The second incident about his humanitarian, his philanthropy, his love for the people, and his stakeholder relationship management. When we had this unfortunate flood in Maiduguri, sorry, Mr. Chairman, I'm taking, yeah. When we had this flood in Maiduguri, he tried to reach in touch with the governor. Unfortunately, the governor somehow, maybe he didn't have he couldn't. So he called me. The chairman called me. He said, "Mustafa, I tried to reach your governor, I couldn't reach him." So I sent a message to the governor, and the governor called him and spoke to him. And the governor, he said he wants to come to Maiduguri to commiserate with us and, give whatever he can. So the governor says, "Sir, no, you don't have to come. Your call is enough. Whatever that you are able to send, we are, So after he put the phone, he called me back. He said, "You know what your governor told me?" He said I shouldn't go. Kagaya mishi tun kafin a haife shi na zuwa Maiduguri. Kuma ba zai hana ni zuwa ba. Then 20-30 minutes after that, he called me again. He said, "I want to go to Maiduguri, but I don't want to go there without, calling the vice president, who is our second senior citizen in the country, and also from Borno. So it's out of respect for him. I want to tell him that I'm going, and this is what I'm going to do." I couldn't reach him. So I called the chief of staff. And lo and behold, they spoke. And then, alhamdulillah, he went the same day with Taju and others. Then lastly, when we were holding a second board meeting outside Abuja, and we went to Maiduguri to honor Dr. Indimi. Taju and others, the whole board went. Then when we went to my house, you remember Taju, all my friends came out and said, "Please, muna gode ya baba. Wallahi abunda ya bamu mun gode, amma zuwansa yafi abunda ya bamu." So I will I can keep on going just like you, sir, and the others. Leadership is about humility. It's about touching lives. It's about humanity, relationship management. And our late elder statesman, Alhaji Dr. Aminu Dantata, symbolizes all this. And on behalf of the board, the management, and the entire staff of Jais Bank, we are going to buy 100 copies of the book for all our branches, our staff, for a meager sum of 50 million naira. Assalamu alaikum.
There are 2 books. That's for 1 book. There are 50 million for the second book. Please clap for him, clap for him, clap for him.
Sure, sir. And that there are 2 books, so that we don't end up on one. You would have noticed a reordering of the program. So please excuse some of the tweaking that we have done. It is just so that we can save time and not remain here for too long. For instance, the reference to launching ought to have come after the guest speaker makes his presentation, and then the book reviewer or reviewers have their take on it. So please forgive us on behalf of the organizers. We're doing this in good faith. Now, I'd like to announce that donations will continue. A list perhaps will be going around for contributions, and then we will take the time to acknowledge and announce them so that we don't have making a ceremony of it and then take too much of time to do so. So I'll move on very quickly so that we make some progress. Yes, so the donations can be brought to my notice so that I can acknowledge them as they come. But without wasting time, we've kept the guest speaker waiting for too long. And I think it is time to take the guest speaker. So I introduced earlier the guest speaker for today's event. Professor Ladan, like I mentioned earlier, is a professor of law with specialization in comparative jurisprudence, humanitarian human rights, gender and development, environmental, security, and development laws. He's a member of the World Jurist Association, Academy of Environmental Laws, Nigerian Society of International Law, and a Hubert Humphrey Fellow. Before I call the guest speaker up to the podium for his presentation, I'd like to crave on your indulgence, your excellencies, your highnesses. There's one particular individual who represents a lot in the lifetime of the patriarch we are gathered to celebrate. Somebody who will say something from where he is seated, even if it's for a minute. Please join me as I honor Alhaji Umar Mutallab, so that he just says something. Thank you very much. You can be seated, sir.
I have the greatest respect for Alhaji Aminu Dantata because we first met, about 45, 50 years ago, when he was the chairman of a company based in Funtua, of which I also happen to be a director. And we developed that relationship. The company, of course, is no more in operation because of the lack of raw materials and so forth. But we have benefited from his wisdom, his advice, and the next time we met was during the formation of Jais Bank. Jais Bank is a combination of a lot of individuals who came together to set it up, and he was one of the first person we contacted among the business community. and he was very supportive. He welcomed the idea, and in fact, he said that he had tried to set up an Islamic bank, but unfortunately, environment was not suitable at that time. There was no, laws and regulations. The banking regulations have not allowed it at that time. But alhamdulillah, later on, the Bank and Allied Matters Act was changed and included non-profit banking, and that is when, of course, there was the opportunity for us to set up an Islamic bank. We have been, in this business together, as the current chairman of Jaiz Bank said, with many others. Alhaji Indimi, Alhaji Bintube, Mustafa Bintube was the pioneer Nigerian managing director of the bank. We had also, of course, the cooperation and support of the Islamic Development Bank of Saudi Arabia, who introduced us as technical partners, the Bank Bangladesh, to come and lead us in the first setup. We really appreciate the support and the cooperation we have received from late Alhaji Amin Dantata, who was ably represented by Tajuddin Dantata, as a member of the board, and we wish him, life in Firdaus, and we all hope and pray that we will join him, in this very, place of peace and security after life. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuh.
Very quick, but very deep goodwill message there. Please, can we put our hands together for him one more time? So, moving on quickly, I would like to request that we put our hands together as we receive the guest speaker. As I did announce earlier, before that short goodwill message, please join me as I welcome to the stage to present his paper. Professor Muhammad Taufik Ladan. Please put your hands together.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين آمين. Your Excellencies, Your Royal Highness, permit me to stand on a well-established protocol. Sometime last year, I was at a public occasion at Sheraton, and an MC said, if protocols have been well-established for over an hour or 2 hours, why must subsequent speakers be coming on stage or podium to say that they are standing on the existing protocol? If the protocol has been well-established, Your Excellencies, permit me to comfortably sit on the existing protocol. I so sit. In the first instance, I know many will be asking, what eligibility or qualification has this unknown Professor Muhammad Taufik Ladan to be invited to be the guest speaker at this occasion? In the first instance, I would like to say that Dr. Munzali Dantata was actually my senior by 2 years when they were exiting ABU Zaria Faculty of Law. That was the year I came in as a first-year LLB graduate. That's number one. Number two, my father, Alhaji Alfa Usman Laden, happens to be a very good friend and close associate of the Dantata family, particularly Munzali's father, Alhaji Munzali Dantata. Together, they pool their actually resources and also their thoughts together to establish the first non-governmental and non-missionary, privately owned school that is a combined English and Arabic, or if you like, call it combined Western and modern education that is today known as Dantata Memorial School. So that's my first connection with the Dantata family. And the second actually point is that when I gained admission to read law at Ahmed Bello University Zaria in 1983, I wanted to apply for scholarship, and I went and told Alhaji Munzali Dantata, and he scolded me and said, "Why? Who do you think am I? And why do you think I exist?" So he said, I should shelve the idea of a scholarship, and he asked me to go to the Dantata actually headquarters, and then simply actually, request for monthly actually allowance as my scholarship up to the end of my actually LLB program. When I finished, I gained admission. I actually went back and told him that I've completed and I've gotten a job. 2 years later, I wrote my first book in 1990. When I went to ABU Press and asked them, please, MD, I want my book to be published, Introduction to Nigerian Criminal Law in 1990. The MD then of ABU Press told me that, Professor Ladan, you are just a lecturer too, and we have an associate professor whose book we are publishing, and we can't publish your own, so go and look for money. And that time it was at the rate of 10 naira per copy times 1,000 copies. That is about 10,000 naira. I rushed back to Alhaji Aminu and I presented to him the invoice and my application to pay back, and that language to pay back also angered actually Alhaji Aminu, and he scolded me again, and he said, take it to the Dantata headquarters and ask the division secretary to process and pay. This story I didn't even tell Munzali Dantata all these years when he was actually brainstorming on these two books. And Munzali took me into confidence in a kind of a think tank arrangement. Each time he was pondering on each of these books in the last 10 years, he would send me and ask me to please, interrogate and also question and add value to it. But eventually, I'm happy today that Dr. Munzali Dantata has finally actually presented the two books in his own capacity as an author. And then I was actually happy to be part of his thoughts as a critic, and also sometimes reminding him of that relationship between our parents. My job today, everybody has been presenting the Dantata business model and Alhaji Dantata in the context of Kano and Nigeria. But as a professor of regional economic integration law and practice in Africa, and ECOWAS actually inclusive, I would like to briefly put it in the context that the Dantata business model was essentially a cross-border trade model. That's number one. Number two, I asked myself two questions. What really actually made the Dantata business model transformative? And second, what also made the Dantata business model sustainable over a century? In my view, from the little research that I did, I actually found that the Dantata family business model was built by the late grandfather Alhaji Alhassan Dantata, expanded by his sons, including late Alhaji Aminu Dantata. It was profoundly, in my view, a transformative and sustainable business model over a century because it has evolved from a pre-colonial trading network into a modern, diversified conglomerate. That's number one. Number two, in my view, the success of the Dantata business model in Kano, across Nigeria, and in West Africa, and that's my point, in West Africa was essentially rooted in cross-border trade. And this in itself offers us a critical lesson or lessons for the ECOWAS community of West African states that started actually promoting cross-border trade in West Africa among West African citizens under the ECOWAS Protocol on free movement of persons, goods, services, and capital. The Dantata business model has been promoting cross-border trade for 100 years, i.e. 75 years older before actually even ECOWAS community of West African states, i.e. all the heads of state and the communities in West Africa. That's number two. Again, in the last 6 years, the Assembly of Heads of State of the African Union decided actually to put together a framework of African Continental Free Trade Area. In it, there is actually a protocol also on free movement of persons, goods, and services and capital in Africa that seek to promote cross-border trade, and intra-African trade among African states. But I would like to say that the Dantata business model has essentially some lessons to be learned from its business model that is transformative and sustainable over a century by both the ECOWAS community of West African states and by the African Union Continental Free Trade Area that is just 6 years old promoting cross-border trade. And these are my reasons. The Dantata business model is transformative for the following reasons in brief. First, it transformed itself as a business actually model from traditional to modern enterprise. And Alassane Dantata actually, model initially a caravan merchant adapted to the colonial economy by shifting to modern transport and becoming a licensed buying agent for European companies. He was a pioneer in adopting Western business models, being the first in Kano to use a bank, depositing a vast amount of coins in 1929. This transition transformed the local trade system and integrated Kano's economy into global markets. The second point, in my view, is that it's about strategic, geographic, and sectoral expansion. The Dantata business model, grew from Kano-centered trade in kola nuts and groundnuts to a wide-reaching network across Nigeria and West Africa. And in this context, the business model diversified into critical sectors like construction, oil and gas, real estate, banking, moving actually beyond commodity trading to become a multi-sector powerhouse. Your Excellency, distinguished participants, the third point as to why the Dantata business model was transformative and then sustainable over a century was because of its vertical integration business model. And both Alassane Dantata and Alhaji Aminu Dantata employed vertical integration to control their supply chains. This involved managing everything from raw material acquisition to logistics, which improved efficiency and cut costs. In this context, you can see that they were able to control the entire process. They could dominate their market, especially in the groundnut trade, where late Alassane Dantata famously amassed huge pyramids actually in Kano. Then the fourth key element as to why the business model was transformative and sustainable was because of its network based on trust. The business model essentially relied heavily on an extensive network of credit and kinship, rather than just formal contracts. This system was built on mutual trust and personal relationships, enabling trade to flourish even in regions and actually countries within the West African actually border with undeveloped formal actually institutions. And this network in itself was essential for scaling their cross-border operations across West Africa. Finally, I would like to also draw our attention to one quick point. There are some key factors that essentially promoted the sustainability of the Dantata business model. One factor that contributed to the sustainability of business model over a century was strategic diversification. The business model of the Dantata family essentially promoted the long-term survival of the business, which they secured through diversifying away from its original dependence on commodities like granules. And this essentially, enabled the business model to branch into construction, manufacturing, petroleum, etc. The second factor that contributed to sustainability of the Dantata business model essentially lies in adherence to strong values. Values like the principles of integrity, trust, and religious ethics. The third factor that essentially contributed to the sustainability of the business model of the Dantata family is social investment and community engagement. In this context, the family model, invested heavily in philanthropy, supporting education, like my own, healthcare, and religious institutions. Finally, MC, I've been signaled I have actually left. Finally, as a key factor contributing to the sustainability of the business model that lasted for over a century is the element of generational succession, which was planned by the family. So you can see the business model, transforming itself from my great grandfather, Alasan Dantata himself, who guided his sons, including Alhaji Aminu Dantata, for eventual leadership, and the family prioritized deliberately and consciously succession from one generation to the other. And I think these are the factors that essentially contributed to the sustainability of the Dantata business model, and the lessons actually for ECOWAS, Community of West African States, and a set of lessons also for Africa in terms of the AFTA program is that we need to build actually, trade infrastructure. We also need to actually encourage innovation. We also need to promote diversification in trade. And we also need to promote social investment and community engagement. Thank you very much. Bissalam.
Thank you very much. Okay. It's always a tough challenge if you give the microphone to an academic, a professor. I'm sure that he's not very, very satisfied. But again, this is the best that we can do. Very profound lessons that we can't get from London School of Economics or from Harvard or elsewhere in the Dantata model. Thank you very much. Thank you. A quick announcement. Ushers are going round. The pledge form or card contains account numbers where payments can be made. I hope we've seen that. I'll be acknowledging donations or contributions that have been made in the course of time. But just a bridge between the presentation we just listened to and that of the reviewers. I just want to call for someone, a young man, to do something in 2 minutes, just to light things up a bit. A little bit of spoken word won't be a bad idea. Please put your hands together as I make welcome Ahmed Usman El Nafati. You have 70 seconds. Thank you.
Bismillah wa salatu wa salamu ala rasulillah wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. Wannan kasida ce na rubuta da Hausa lokacin da Allah ya yi wa kakanmu, babanmu, Alhaji Aminu Alhassan Dantata rasuwa. Na rubuta ta, insha Allah kuma yanzu zan karanta a gaban jama'a. Allah ya ji kansa ya gafarta masa. Dalilin Baba Munzali Dantata, marubucin littafin Dantata, nake rera ƙasidar Dantata a gaban ahalin Dantata domin alhinin Dantata. Sarki da kansa zai saurare ta, ya girmama taron ya kimanta domin darajar Aminu Dantata. Ita duniya dai kun santa, yau ma ashe ta yi halinta, daga can Dubai an shelanta, zan so na je ni Madina ta don can aka binne Dantata. Wai waye Aminu Dantata? Me yasa ake kukar rasa Dantata? Yau za ku ji waye Dantata da dalilin kukar rasa Dantata, mazan jiya kenan Aminu Dantata. Tafiyarsa daidai tatata, maganarsa mai kyau in yaita, aikin ƙwarai zai gaggauta, baya faɗa ko komita, to kun ji Aminu Dantata. In kasuwanci ne shine malaminta, in taimako ne shine jagoranta, ƙauna shi ke ƙullata, in kyauta ce shine jagabanta, dole a yi kuka a rashin Dantata. Gun agaji ya ciri tuta, mun san hakan al'ummata, kaya fari sai mai tsafta, shine Aminu gidan gata, kuma ɗan Hassan kuma Dantata. Zai tallafe ka ya maimaita, in yayi ma zai sabunta, hidima yake mai ƙasaita, zai baka gida har ma mota, in dai ana zancen kyauta to sai su Aminu Dantata. Rayuwar mutane ya canza ta, tsakanin mutane ya sulhunta, ci gaban ƙasa ya ƙoƙarta, baya raina mutum duk ƙanƙanta, wannan ne Aminu Dantata. ‘Ya'yansa baki ɗaya ya daidaita, jikokinsa Aminu ya zuzuta, tarbiyyar gidansa ya fifita, rayuwarsa dole a rubuta ta domin a yi koyi da Dantata. Duk ƙungiya shi ya santa, har dukiyarsa yake bata, domin ya share hawayenta, har malamai na ɗariƙata sun shaida aikin Dantata. Ita ma Kanon duk ya bata, Najeriyar ma ya bata, kai har Afirka da gefenta, su kansu dangin Dantata sun san Aminun Dantata. Ni El Nafati a waƙata, in na kira ka na ruruta, har na yabo a ƙasidata, to gun karamci kairata, tamkar Aminun Dantata. Zunubansa Rabbi ka gafarta, bayansa Jalla ka alkinta, darajar ƙiyama ƙarata, ya Rabbi duk mun jajanta, ka ji kan Aminun Dantata.
And I would like to re-echo the last line. Allah ya jikan Aminu Dantata. Thank you very much, Ahmad Usman El Nafati. Moving on very, very quickly, we would like some quick takes by the reviewers, two of them, because we have two books actually, but this will be very, very, very short, I can assure you. Please put your hands together as I make welcome the first of the reviewers among two, Dr. Mohammed Hashim Suleiman from the Department of Mass Communication, prestigious Ahmadu Bello University, Zaria. We are not clapping. Can we put our hands together for him? Thank you.
Yes, I just pointed out to the MC that you are the reviewer. You are the main reviewer of the two books, and the two people he's mentioning are supposed to be discussing the books. So I'm sorry for that mistake. Our professor has prepared and is here, and I think it will be a slight. Yes, so please recognize.
I want to specially recognize the reviewer, my very profound apologies. The reviewer I did mention earlier, Emeritus Professor Munzali Jibril, Emeritus Professor of English and former Executive Secretary, National Universities Commission, former DVC, Bayero University. Can you please put your hands together for Professor Munzali Jibril? Thank you. No problem.
The governor of Kano State, represented by his two commissioners, the former governor of Kano State, Senator Ibrahim Sheikh, all all former ministers here present, beginning with our father, Alhaji Umaru Mutallab, my elder brother and friend, Wazirin Duse, Alhaji Bashir Alhatu, my younger brother and friend, Tamburam Gombe, Dr. Aliu Modibo, and others whom I may not have seen. My Martaba Sarkin Kano, the representative of the Emir of Lafia, other distinguished ladies and gentlemen here present. Allah has blessed the Dantata family not just with stupendous wealth, such as that of the progenitor, Alhaji Al-Hassan Dantata himself, the recently Alhaji Dantata, his late elder brother, Alhaji Sanusi Dantata, his grandson, the legendary Alhaji Aliko Dangote, but also with good social skills and super intellect. This is a family that now boasts of 2 female professors, Professor Gaji Dantata and Professor Khair Dantata, many doctorate degree holders, such as the author of these 2 books, and my namesake, Dr. Munzali Dantata, Dr. Bello Sanusi Dantata of the Nigerian Police Academy, and Dr. Maminu Ahmadu Dantata, among others. Our author is a distinguished lawyer, LLB ABU, BL Council for Legal Education, 1981, LLM International Finance Law, American University in Washington, 1984, PhD in Law, ABU, 2012. And he has carved a niche for himself as a tourism expert and entrepreneur, in addition to being a distinguished painter and artist. He owns one of the oldest travel agencies in Abuja, All State Travel Agency, and was the Director General and Chief Executive of the National Institute for Hospitality and Tourism between 2006 and 2014. He also, 2006 and 2012, I'm sorry, yeah. He also founded the Zuma Institute for Globalization and Entrepreneurship in 2004. The first book, Behind the City Wall, consists of 10 chapters, a prologue, an epilogue, and a glossary of housewords used in the book. It is dedicated to the memory of 3 men who impacted not only the author's life, but the course of commerce in Kano and Nigeria. Namely, Alhaji Al-Hassan Dantata, the author's grandfather, 1870 to 1955, Alhaji Ahmadu Dantata, the author's biological father, 1915 to 1960. Okay, let me use this. Oh, where did this one? And Alhaji Aminu Dantata, the author's social father and uncle, 1931 to 2025. Okay, when I was preparing the reviews, I asked what time I had, and I was told 30 minutes. I just started about 3 minutes ago, and there's a note saying 5 more minutes. So maybe they are using a different clock from what we are using. So I'll be skipping some sections. There is a poem. I don't have to go through it. And then there is a prologue. In the prologue, the author explores 3 facets of Kano life: the groundnut pyramids, the city wall, and the railway. Now, the book itself draws on years of conversation with his late uncle, interwoven with his own memories of the 1960s. It chronicles a century of Kano's transformation from the 1870s to the 1970s, through the lens of 3 generations. It offers a window into the challenges facing African nations as they navigate the shifting tide of a globalized world economy. Well, there is a chapter-by-chapter account which I will have to race through. Chapter 1 is "A fruit doesn't fall far from the tree," essentially talking about family traditions. The children of the Dantata family tend to follow the family tradition of trade and business. Okay. Chapter 2, "A child is what you put into him." It may surprise many that unlike other Kano business families, the Dantata family gives a lot of importance to education. And this is because Alhaji Alasan Dantata himself was exposed to Europeans and to the value of education because as a teenager, he participated in the Gonja trade between Kumasi and Kano. So, and he could speak English. So he gave a lot of importance to education, and he sent 2 of his sons, Alhaji Ahmadu Dantata and Alhaji Mahmud Dantata, to Achimota College in Ghana to study, the famous Achimota College. Then his son, Alhaji Ahmadu, established the Dantata School. The father of Professor Ladan, who spoke to us, Alhaji Alfa Ladan, was actually the first headmaster of that school for a long time. Okay. Chapter 3, "We all live by selling something." This is from Alhaji Amin Dantata. The tradition of Kano is that you must participate in business and trade. So all of us sell one thing or the other. Chapter 4, Tumbingiwa, is from the epithet of Kano, which says, "Kano Tumbingiwa, Yaro Kodame Kazo Amfika." It is the elephant's bowel. Whatever you come with, you will find your betters here, whether negative or positive. So this chapter is talking about the diversity, racial and cultural diversity of Kano. The Dantata family, of course, traced their ancestry to the Agalawa, who were originally from Agadez, but settled in Bebeji. And Al-Hassan himself traveled from Bebeji with his mother and was engaged in the trade between Kumasi and Kano in pre-colonial days. So that's why Alhaji Aminu went to build a very big house in Bebeji, just to connect with his roots. Now, chapter 5, Badalar Kano, is talking about the city wall of Kano, which is maybe the 8th wonder of the world, because it stands at 50 feet tall, 40 feet wide, and it was so thick that when the British came to invade Kano, they tried to blast it. It wouldn't fall. And so in the end, it was the gate, which was made of iron, that they blasted and got in. But the walls, they could not, and it was just mud, not cement. They couldn't blast it and break it. Chapter 6, Kida Ya Chanja. This is talking about all the changes that came to Kano as a result of the contact with colonialists and the socio-economic changes, and ultimately the incorporation of Kano into the global village. Chapter 7 is talking about the train. I think the author is fascinated by the train since his first journey to Kaduna to enroll at the... Yes, they say, even if you haven't finished, just shut up. This is the latest note. He is fascinated by the train, so he talked about it and all the opportunities that it brought to connect Kano to the world. Chapter 8 is talking about Dalergeda, the famous Kano pyramids, and he gave a history of how it happened. There was so much groundnut that the trains couldn't evacuate them, and storage space was short. So somebody was ingenious and decided that the best way to store it was to stack the bags up in a pyramid-shaped form, and the placing of the last bag at the top of the pyramid was a very skillful job that only few could attempt. And then chapter 9, the 60s and the decades of Africa, is talking about all the developments that came to Nigeria and to Africa after the Civil War and the inflow of petrol, and then on the larger African continent, decolonization and so on. So the last chapter talks about the last pyramid, end of an era. Of course, we no longer grow raw materials for factories in Europe. The British constructed the railway not for us, but so that they could evacuate our agric produce to the seaport in Lagos and take it home to their industries. And well, some people have the view that this is not development, it is a phase in our own evolution. But we should not spend all our lifetime producing raw materials for somebody else. Okay. There are a lot of very rare photographs in the book, 45 pages of photographs, some of them 2 photographs on 1 page, and some paintings by the author as well. Now that's the first book. The second book, what I tried to do was to simply summarize the life of Alhaji Aminu Dantata. Again, as I said, education was given a pride of place in their family. So he was well educated. I remember in 1991, when after the in his house, and he addressed the meeting in English, and somebody came to me and said he didn't know that Alhaji Aminu could speak English so well. He thought he was just another illiterate Kano businessman. So he had his education in Kano at the Dala Primary School, and we've just heard that he also was in the middle school. And he was well tutored by his father and elder brother in the art of business. As a young man, he was fascinated by Nepu, and he was Tanko Yakase's colleague in Nepu. But because of the royal family connection of his family, his family's connection with the royal family, where his father was given a seat on the Emirate Council, and he had excellent relations with all the emirs beginning from Serki Abbas, during whose reign he came to settle in Kano. And in 1910, the area where the Dantatas now live was just vacant land, and it was called Sereri. So Alhaji Alassane went to ask for permission from the emir to build his family houses around the place, and that is why all of them live there. Alhaji Aminu here, across the road, Alhaji Sanusi, and so on and so forth. So he was not happy with Alhaji Aminu for flirting with this new radical party. So he had to abandon it, and sometime later he actually contested for the Northern House of Assembly seat on the ticket of the Northern People's Congress, NPC. But he still remained friends with Madam Aminu Kano, Tanko Akase, and so on. In fact, it is rumored that Mumbai House, Aminu Kano's residence, was discreetly financed. The building of the house was discreetly financed by Alhaji Aminu. Typical of him, if he did any philanthropic or charitable act, he wouldn't want anybody to know. Anybody who knows Mala Aminu Kano knows that he had no capacity to build that kind of house. The late Maitama Sule also told me personally that the house where he died in Dawaki Road was also built for him by Alhaji Aminu Dantata. The secret of his success was, first of all, the training he had from his father and brother, his education, and his exposure. He was appointed a commissioner in Abdu Bako's first cabinet, but after 5 years, he realized that there were opportunities for Nigerian businessmen which would only knock once. So he resigned in 1972 to take advantage of those opportunities. The indigenization decree opened doors which were hitherto closed to Nigerian businessmen. And he went into construction and was awarded a contract to build the Nigerian Defense Academy, the city campus, in 1962 for £500,000, which was the biggest contract ever awarded by the Nigerian government up to that point in time. He did it successfully, and he was awarded another one in 1964 to build the Nigerian College of Aviation Technology in Zaria. In philanthropy, he was unrivaled. During the launch of the Gidauniyar Jihar Kano in 1986, he donated 10 million naira. The world could not, Nigeria could not believe it. The Kano state government gave only 1 million naira. He gave 10. And at today's value, that money is 5 billion naira. 5 billion. And of course, Alhaji Musa bin Tube just told us, when he went to Maiduguri, although he didn't mention the amount, he gave 1.5 billion naira for the Maiduguri disaster flood. Towards the end of his life, the last 5-10 years, he was just giving. He was giving because he wanted to invest in his hereafter. As a family man, he stood out. Wherever he traveled, he took all his wives and young children with him. Wherever he spent time, whether it was Abuja, Dubai, Cairo, Jeddah, or Mecca, he had houses large enough to accommodate his family. We can only pray to Almighty Allah to forgive his shortcomings and accept his uncountable acts of charity and reward him with the highest grade of Jannah. We also commend his nephew and adopted son, Munzali Dantata, for tricking Baba Aminu into unwittingly providing the information for this most valuable biography. Out of humility, he refused to allow anybody to interview him for a biography. But, those closest to you know your weakness, and they are the ones that can actually break you. So it took him years, but he would start a conversation without taking notes or recording anything. And he would go back and write his notes. And that's how he gathered the material, because otherwise he would never have submitted to anybody writing a book about him. The book is recommended for all those who wish to be inspired by the life of great Allah-fearing and humble men. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We will call on the discussants to give a quick take in closing. I just want to announce that I'd like the author to be positioned among the very distinguished guests on the front row. Ushers, please share copies for a photograph moment on the front row. Ushers, please share copies to the front row so that we can have a moment of photography with the author holding the books. It's very important for historical curating, please.
First of all, I would like to thank Daily Trust Media Trust Group for believing in the cause which informed me to write these two books. I would like to, it's a pity we don't have the PowerPoint, but in the books, in one of the chapters, but that's the second. There's an initiative behind the books. Okay, we have it here now. If you read the books, in one of the chapters, Alhaji Aminu, Baba Aminu, our father, he was telling me the secret behind the success of Kano is that we all lived by selling something. There's a saying, kasan mutum kasan sana'arsa. And also there's another saying, ba a zaman banza a Kano. So we all grew up hearing these sayings, which are the motivating factors behind Kano's success. So unemployment was unheard of before the coming of Europeans. So these two books, which I wrote, they are principally about a city which was the economic capital of West Africa before the British colonizers, and also about a person. I started out about 10 years ago writing about Kano, and not because I'm from Kano, but you'll be surprised to know the many firsts of Kano. The first factory in Nigeria was Masaka in Kano. Lagos came many years later. Go on to the next slide. So Baba told me that in Kano, we all live by selling something. And that's why in most of the surnames, you'll hear, I even start with an Ilo, Gwadabe Metasa, Metaya, Meturare. So almost all surnames, tell you, like the Metangaran family, now they are no more selling Tangaran, but their progenitor was selling Tangaran. So we have always had our surnames, which tells what we do. So I picked next slide. So that's the philosophy behind Kano's success. And it became the economic capital of Hausa land. During the Trans-Sahara trade, it was a meeting place when Arabs came from North Africa, and then merchants came from Katsina, Sokoto, Zaria, and they met in Kano. So I've been motivated principally by 3 books. Professor Taufik Ladan spoke about the first school, which is Dantata School, which was the first Western school in northern Nigeria that did not belong to missionaries or the government. And his father, Alhaji Alfa Ladan, was the person who set up the school. My father only financed it. And that school attracted many. One of them was here, Professor Yadudu, but he had to leave. And then the second school that motivated me is Capital School Kaduna, which I attended. That one was set up by the Premier of Northern Nigeria. And the third and final school, which I learned, my brother, the former governor of Kano State, mentioned, which is KCCS, Kano Community Commercial School, which is today called Kano, Kano College of Commercial Studies, Kano Community Commercial College. So go on to the next slide. So I came up with an initiative, like the former governor mentioned, Kano Community Commercial College, which is still existing. In 1967, when there was a civil strife, most of the Southerners left, mainly the Igbos and Yorubas, and they were the accountants, they were the clerks, they were the secretaries. So there was a problem with many companies. So Amin Kano rallied a lot of citizens of Kano, including Munzali Dantata, and they donated money and set up the Community Commercial College, which was supported by Kano State government much later, and eventually Kano State government took over the school. But as God will have it, 5 years ago, Alhaji Aminu approached Kano State government and asked Kano State to disinvest from the school that is best run as a community school. And Kano State went ahead and returned the school back to the community. So I came up with that idea. The problem we are having today, first of all, the world is changing in every aspect, from warfare to trade to education. So robots are taking over jobs, artificial intelligence. So the Hausas say, "Inki daya chanja, rawa chanja." So I came up with this initiative, and it is tied around community schools. We have 774 local governments in Nigeria, and more than half of them are in Arewa. So we are going to found a group of schools which will be called community commercial schools, which will be having as in entrepreneurship. Go to the next slide. So, and the building you are seeing there, which there's a model there, is a resort which I founded opposite Zuma Rock about 30 years ago as a cultural village, which is one of the things that I'm mostly known, though I'm a lawyer, but I've always been involved in cultural and tourism affairs. So we are coming up with the Dantata Institute, which will try to open as many community commercial schools fashioned after the Kano Commercial College, and by motivating communities to come together and set up their schools, which could be supported by government both at the federal, state, and local level. So, and they will be supervised and mobilized by the institute, which I intend to personally run that institute. Today we are having that problem in the north with so many out-of-school children, the so-called Almajiris, and also we are having problem with banditry. So long as we do not empower this segment of our society, if you don't empower the beggars, they can never leave the street. And also those committing all sorts of crimes, including banditry, you have to give them. So we hope that these schools could absorb as many of them. And these schools may be primary, secondary, tertiary, or vocational schools. One thing they have in common is that they have a bias on entrepreneurship. Go to the next slide. Okay, I think that's the last slide. So actually, we came here for a book launch, but I'm seizing the opportunity to also launch this initiative, the CCS, the Community Commercial Schools, in which we are going to try to open as many schools in the north. My main message is to the north, which is my primary constituency, and my secondary message is to Nigeria and Africa in that order. And while I'm having the stage, I would say I hope that, and I would like to mention that part of the problems we have, though I'm deviating, is that we are very much divided in the north. I would like to suggest that we look at Hausa language as a language, not a tribal group. It should be the unifying language or aspect of what could unify the north. Whether somebody is, it may interest you to know that when Zangon Kataf local government was created in 1992, guess who they nominated to come and launch it? It was Munzali Dantata. And he called me. He had commitment, he was going to London. He said, please go and represent me in Zangon Kataf. And I didn't know, as Zangon Kataf was cut off from, I think, Kachia. So I went to the map looking for where is Zangon Kataf. So eventually I found it, and I found my way to Zangon Kataf in 1992. And I met the likes of Zamani Lekot, Ishaya Balat, Shekari, and I was there, I was just about 30 years old. So for them to reach out from Kaduna and from a Christian community to Munzali Dantata to come and launch. And the sad thing about it, 2 years later, that problem broke out. And I felt very sad. A place I was there just 2 years ago to help them launch their local government, which had just been created. So what I'm trying to say is that my message first is to the north, to my brothers, and I think if we take this, our language, Hausa, and look at anybody who is Hausa speaking as a brother, it will go a long way in promoting the unity of the north, and then also to start improving through these community schools. As they say, you know, whoever do one day yo. So if we set up these schools, if they are in a Muslim community, they could have Islamic studies also incorporated, but principally they are about entrepreneurship. And if they are in Christian communities, they could have their own Bible knowledge. But that should not divide us, it should be bringing us together. So with that, I would like to say that because with this limited time, you'll hear more from me with this, my idea about driving my own initiative through education, and education at all levels. Thank you.
Thank you very much. That's a very detailed take from the author. One strong take away from his message is the strong charge for us to gradually dismantle Eurocentrism and then our representation and identity, particularly through indigenous language and education. Please put your hands together for our author one more time. Your Excellencies, Your Highnesses, we're rounding up. I've gotten an appeal from the, okay. Photographers, please, can you help us? It's a profound moment for resonant pictures, as I assume that our revered Emir, His Royal Highness Emir of Kano, Alhaji Dr. Sanusi Lamido Sanusi, CON, is taking his leave. Thank you very much, Emir. We are deeply, deeply honored by your presence and the time that you've spent with us. I'd like to quickly announce that contributions and donations are still ongoing, and then we expect that the envelopes will be forwarded so that I can make the announcements. Very, very quickly, I want to call on our two discussants for quick takes on the book. I want to assure you it's the last thing you'll be hearing on the podium, before we round up and leave. But before then, I want to profoundly apologize to them. They came here very early. One of them was here with me as early as 8 o'clock. Dr. Mohammed Hashim Suleiman, we're very, very sorry. Please, can you step forward? I'd like to also call his colleague, Dr. Aminu Abdullahi, to be on standby. Let's just get quick takes on the book, because they have a role to play as discussants. Please, can we make it less rowdy so that we can leave here on time? 2 minutes for each of the discussants. Thank you, thank you, thank you. This will be the last item we'll take, and then we'll round off very quickly. I beg your pardon.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuhu. I will just rush through, of course, standing on the protocol earlier established. And I say, there is a proverb that says, the potter's hand never forgets the clay. Last night, while reading Dr. Munzali Dantata's biography or book, I felt the proverb move from clay to conscious. The book is not merely a chronicle of a merchant. That is the second book, Aminu Dantata, Life and Times of a Nigerian Entrepreneur. But it is an issue about an ethic that held Nigeria together long before the word governance was fashionable. Aminu Dantata, who arrived this world in the 1930s, when the world was still moving on camels and hoops, and he left us in 2025 when the world streams on photons, was the potter. The clay was Nigeria's possibility. The vessel he shaped was what Aristotle will call ethos incarnate, his character becoming an institution. Also, Plato insisted that wealth is a parent of luxury and indolence, but also an excellence if rightly used. And I say, few lives illustrate the conditional clause, if rightly used, with the quiet exactitude of the late Aminu Dantata. Here was a man born into the echoes of caravans, the scent of groundnuts, and the creak of British lorries. While the British Empire extracted our resources, the Dantata household reinvested the resources, first in sacks of groundnuts, then in sacks of hope as school fees, boreholes, mosque, and dialysis machine. The book was a glow as it recounts the Nigerian Defense Academy contract, which was fully executed by the late Aminu Dantata, and I fall back to the philosophical saying of Immanuel Kant of categorical imperative. Okay? And in that contract, the late Aminu Dantata became an expert not only in contract execution, but in construction industry. Now, I will just jump to ask us, what is this book telling us? What are these two books telling us? To me personally, after reading these two books, I was left with three things that the books are asking me to do. One, live by selling something useful. Aminu Dantata's lifelong creed: sell knowledge, sell crafts, sell yam seedings, coded into agricultural apps, and just sell creation, not connivance. Two, leave the drum before the dance stumbles. Know when public service ends and private example starts. And three, let wealth flow like water. Stagnant water stinks. Circulate business surplus into classrooms, labs, and veins of strangers whose names you cannot even call. And lastly, I say, as I close, the book makes me recall the evening when the late Aminu Dantata was asked by a visitor, Baba, what is your greatest asset? And he tapped his chest and he said this, I am still trustworthy even at the verge of my sunset. And to you, the readers and people here, I say, may we, the carriers of this book and those that will read it, be found trustworthy at our own sunset. Maybe the ground-up pyramids are gone, but the pyramids of integrity as exemplified by the late Aminu Dantata are risen. And may the biography we launch today be read not as a nostalgia, but as a navigation for every young Nigerian who still believes that commerce can be worship, that profit can be a prayer, and that Nigeria, like clay in the potter's hand, can yet be reshaped while the wheel is still spinning. Thank you all and remain blessed.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Very, very deeply profound, Dr. Mohammed Suleiman Hashim. We will take the next one, another short, quick take. I want to appeal that this one should be shorter, if possible, please.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Time has really gone, so I will talk straight about the book, Behind the City Wall. Just as rightly introduced by the professor.
Sorry, please, I would like to appeal for calm. I also like to appeal for some form of decorum. Let's be quiet so that we can listen and leave here on time. Please, please, please. It's getting rowdy. Please, can we just cooperate so that we can do right and leave on time? Thank you. Sorry.
Yes. Behind the City Wall. As I said, I will talk directly about the book. The book has 235 pages, including the glossary pages, written by the profound writer with exceptional writing skills, Dr. Munzali Dantata. The book is a history book presented in an autobiographical style, and it has 10 chapters. There is a poem as part of the preliminary pages, and the author in his wisdom is able to summarize the entire content of the book using that poem. And the book also has a blurb at the back of it, which summarizes the content of the book. And then there is also a brief about the author. There is something I really appreciate about the style of writing adopted by the author, which is called the I narrative, or the first person narration, whereby the author uses himself to narrate the story. That is, he made us to understand the history of Kano from his own eyes. And this style of using I narration technique tells us the intimacy and emotional connection the author has to the great city of Kano. They also has used the poem, as I said, the prologue and the epilogue in the book to summarize the content of the book. So by reading these three key parts of the book, one will be able to understand a summary of the content of the book without wasting much time. There is also something very interesting about the author's style of writing, particularly his use of language. He used a lot of what is called foreign language, a lot of Hausa words, which at the end of the day, he provided the meaning of those words at the glossary. This is indeed to show his own love for the language and his own way of not alienating the readers of the book. Finally, I want to commend the author and recommend the book for every body, especially the student, not only at the tertiary institutions but also at secondary school level, because the book is indeed an all-encompassing and comprehensive book that has offered an encyclopedic view of the city's multifaceted life. Therefore, the book is really and highly recommended. And I would like to call on all that have purchased copies of the book to make the books available in schools so that learners can type from the world experience of the author. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you very much, Dr. Abdullahi. Thank you very much. I must also appreciate that you did this within a very short period of time. Moving on very, very quickly, I have an obligation to make announcements on contributions and donations. I'll give a run of them very, very quickly. Okay, so we were here when we heard the chief launcher do his donation of 50 million naira. It was also followed by the person who supported him, of course, as their associate chief launcher, if you permit me to call him that, another amount of 50 million naira. So let me take some quick announcements of donations, contributions made in launching the book. Before then, I want to announce that copies are for sale at unit prices. If you don't have or you're not prepared to do donation, you can actually pick a copy for 5,000 naira. 5,000 naira for unit copies. I repeat, 5,000 naira for a copy per unit. So, very quick announcements. We have in custody the pledge from Alhaji Saidu Dattijo Adhama, represented by Mahmoud Adhama, 6 copies for 2 million naira. We are not clapping. On behalf of Kano State Government, there's an announcement of the contribution or donation to launch by Comrade Ibrahim Waya, Commissioner for Information and Internal Affairs, the sum of 10 million naira for 20 copies. Okay, I've been told that the donation or pledge by Mahmoud Adhama on behalf of Alhaji Saidu Dattijo Adhama has been received. So we have custody of the money already. It's in the bag. There's a donation that's been announced from Bello Tukur, 300,000 naira for 4 copies. Moving on, Salman Dantata on behalf of Starter has pledged the amount of 5 million naira. Number of copies not stated. Okay. On behalf of the Bauchi State Government, first I would like to start with an apology because someone who was here with us, I was told, was representing the executive governor, but he was not properly acknowledged. Please, we crave on your indulgence to forgive us for that. He's the Commissioner of Information and Communication, and he has pledged the amount of 10 million naira on behalf of Bauchi State Government. Okay. There is a pledge before me. I guess the name is Salman Dantata. It's not properly written. For the amount of 5 million naira. We're not clapping for this money. We're supposed to be following the money with clapping. Okay. From Alhaji Mahmoud Saidu Adhama. Okay, I guess this is a repetition that I announced earlier. 2 million naira for 6 copies. And then next, Alhaji Salisu Sambajo, who is speaking 10 copies for 2 million naira. Okay, a name goes by Nuru Muhammad, who is taking 2 copies of 100,000 naira. Honorable Al-Hassan Uba Idris has made a pledge for 2 copies, the sum of 200,000 naira. Okay, the name here is Idris Othman, who is speaking 10 copies for 250,000 naira. And then I have a check before me. Okay, whose identity is not disclosed yet. Okay, I've seen. Okay, it's an endowment fund, Mariam Endowment Fund. That's the identity of the check, addressed to our partner, Media Trust Limited, doing wonderfully well putting this together, ensuring that we're getting a milestone from this remarkable event. Please put your hands together for Miriam Endowment Foundation or Fund, 250,000 naira. Honorable Engineer Sagir Koki of the House of Assembly, the state is not identified, 4 copies for 1 million naira. Okay, a name goes by Gyang Zisan, Mems Court, Durumi, Abuja. 1 copy for 100,000 naira. Awalu Ayabu, who is speaking 5 copies for 100,000 naira only. Your Excellencies, distinguished guests, Mohammed Meirago for 6 copies going for 500,000 naira. I hope that those of us who haven't sent our pledge notes are inspired. We're waiting here to receive them for proper acknowledgement and announcement. Ushers, please go around. We want to get more of this. If you're still holding on to it, please pass it to the usher. If you haven't gotten, please forward them. Thank you. Khadir Abba Dasuki, Durban Sokoto, 250,000 naira for 5 copies on behalf of his family and the family of late Sultan Ibrahim Dasuki. Okay, so as we continue, Ibrahim Abdullahi Waya, Kano State Government, I think I had acknowledged this earlier, so it's a repetition, 10 million naira on behalf of Kano State Government. Okay. Former minister, I guess, from the name indicated, Sani Indanusa, 10 copies, 250,000 naira. Al-Amin Munzali Dantata, for 5 copies, I'm sorry, an amount is not stated here. Please can ushers help us look for him so that we fill this properly. Ushers, your attention here, usher please. Amina Husseini Zakari, pledging for 20 copies, 100,000 naira. And I have Hadiza Barkindo, who I may have confirmed has already done the transfer of 100,000 naira for 2 copies.
It's indeed a real pleasure to stand here before you on behalf of the family of Alhaji Amin Dantata who cannot, no one can be able to explain who he is. We can only say our experiences of him, because every single day we are finding out new things about him that is coming to light. Because I have worked with him for over 38 years, and believe me, it's only after his demise that so many things that he has done are coming up. Over 90% of what is being mentioned that he has done, we knew nothing about that. Nothing at all whatsoever. At his, about 10 or 15 years ago, like it was mentioned, he decided to be giving more charity. And he made sure that he removed everything from his own companies. He deals directly between himself, his secretary, Mustafa, and his bankers. None of us, nobody knows what he does. We only sometimes see some papers flying around that, an institution or an organization has been given this or that. So Alhamdulillah, may Allah make that, sadaqat al-jariyah, and may it be in his hasanat in the day of judgment. I would like to also support the launching that has been done, or that's being done on behalf of the two books, on behalf of Alhaji Amin Dantata's family and well-wishers. We pledge the donation of 50 million naira. And we hope that, this book will go a long way in enlightening the upcoming generation. Us, we that are alive, to emulate his good works and donate generously for the sake of Allah, not for anything else. Thank you very much, and God bless.
Wishes, ladies and gentlemen, announcement of donations continue. There's a heavy lifting that we just heard right now, the sum of 50 million naira. I hope there will be more heavy lifting. Let's get them coming, please. I'd like to move on to quickly announce that of His Excellency, former Executive Governor of Kano State, very distinguished Senator Ibrahim Shekaro, who is taking 2 copies of each of the publications for 100,000 naira. Please, can we put our hands together for His Excellency? KFC Fitness Club. KFC Fitness Club is taking 20 copies for 500,000 naira. 20 copies of each for 500,000 naira. We are not clapping, oh. We are supposed to be following the money, oh. Hadiza Barkindo, like I announced earlier, has confirmed the transfer of her pledge of 100,000 naira for 2 copies. Thank you, Hadiza. Effa Eric, 2 copies, 15,000 naira. Please, let's put our hands together to appreciate. Alamin M. Dantala and Bara Dantata, please, I beg your pardon, forgive me. Pledge for 4 copies, amount not stated. Ushers, please come and do something about it. Amount not stated. Please help me. I'm sure that's another heavy lifting. Go. This is Oh, another heavy lifting. You see why you should trust women to do things differently? When they come to a task, they come differently. So for the women of the Aminu Dantata family, 200 copies for, guess what? Just guess it, 50 million naira. Look, I don't know the person. I told you, I said women do it differently. It's going to be heavy lifting when it comes to women. Okay, Alhaji Ladan Jibrilu is taking 2 copies for 500,000 naira. And so I have a list here that I should just run down quickly, starting with Ahmed Borodo. No copies, no amount of copies indicated. 1 million naira. Abdullahi Usama, no number of copies indicated. 500,000 naira. Lamin Zawiya, no number of copies indicated. 100,000 naira. Nazir Tijani, no number of copies indicated. Listen, 1 million naira. Honorable Engineer Sagir, no number of copies indicated. 1 million naira. And then I think this is a group, because what I can read here, Jikoking Umma Zaria, going for no number of copies stated. Guess what? 2 million naira. Okay. Furera Isma Jumare, picking 1 copy of each for 20,000 naira. Hadiza Isma Erufai, somebody I would have loved to see and acknowledge. I didn't know she was here. Please forgive me. The wife of the former executive governor of Kaduna State. Taking 5 copies for 100,000 naira. Alaji Ibrahim Danyaro from Singa Market in Kano.
1 million.
5 copies, 1 million naira. Alhaji Muhammadu Adakawa, Singa Market, Kano, 5 copies, 1 million naira. Abdul Majid Dambilki Commander, very, very famous, of course. I don't know how I missed that. Okay, 10 million naira. Oh, I beg your pardon, that was an error. Okay, Dambilki Commander, please oblige me with 10 million naira. Just surprise me. But what I have here is actually 1 million naira. I beg your pardon for 10 copies. But you can still change your mind, Dambilki Commander. Okay, Alhaji Mustafa Dan Darman Sokoto. Okay. Who is unavoidably absent. There's a donation on his behalf. A pledge of 500,000 naira for 5 copies. So moving on, family of late General Hassan Usman Kaduna. One of our very rich historic legacies in northern Nigeria. The first military governor of northern Nigeria. The family, 2 copies, 500,000 naira. Okay, on behalf of Trans Blue Nigeria Limited, Abdul Hakim is the name that has been identified here, picking 10 copies for 1 million naira. We are not clapping. Mohammed Bello, and I think on behalf of FGDRI, if I'm not mistaken, is taking 4 copies for 300,000 naira. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, we've come to the turn of our very revered, distinguished, highly respected former Minister of Education. And on behalf of her family, she's taking 5 copies of each of the books for 1 million naira. Nazir Zawiya, there's no amount indicated. Please, ushers, help me get it to the person, get it across to the person so that we sort it out very quickly. Alhaji Dahiru Idi, 250,000 naira for 2 copies. That's not. Okay. Okay. Okay, so Alhaji Sani Zangon Daura, 250,000 naira for 10 copies of each of the publications. Please, can we put our hands together and appreciate Alhaji Sani Zangon Daura. Baffa Saleh Hadeja. Baffa Saleh Hadeja. 8 copies, 120,000 naira. Your Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, Leila Jibara, 50,000 naira, 3 copies. And then we have Abubakar Sadiq Musa, 2 copies, 100,000 naira. We're not clapping. Ahmed Waziri, 6 copies, 100,000 naira. Honorable Yahuza Ado Inua, 2 copies, 100,000 naira. Please keep them coming, keep them coming. Ushers, I need more of this. Ushers, you won't leave this place until we get I need to see more of the pledge notes forwarded to me, please, quickly. Now announcing the donation of Major General Saleh Maina, retired. 1 copy for each of the publication for 100,000 naira. We're not clapping. Yes. Ushers, we're joined to a close. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, but I think it's the right time to say this. I'd like to request a very, 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 very warm appreciation of Public Affairs. Public Affairs, the consultant, event planner, manager, who are responsible for this outing and who have made it as remarkable as you have seen. Public Affairs, Oga Edward and your team, thank you very, very, very much for your sense of patriotism and your excellence in service delivery. Katsina Mukhtar Ibrahim, 4 copies, 200,000 naira. Okay, ushers, keep them coming. Ushers, keep them coming, keep them coming. Yes, the day is fast spent, but it's important to follow the money than to live here without the money. NSDC, can you just relax us with some mild music so that I go around and collect more pledges and announce them? NSDC, well done for your service to Nigeria. Thank you very much. You are very, very much appreciated and acknowledged. On behalf of the organizers, I would like to tell us that we've come to the end of this very historic, remarkable encounter. We've come to the end of this very historic and remarkable event. It's a milestone for its significance in our lives. For those of us who have had contact with Kano, either from studies, travel, or state of origin, I would like to specially thank Daily Trust Newspapers, subsidiary of the Media Trust Nigeria Limited, who are the brains behind this encounter, and of course Public Affairs. I would like to thank you for your time and for your patriotic service. I'd like to call on Ibrahim Danyaro to lead us in closing prayer. Ibrahim Danyaro, if you're nearby, please step forward and lead us in closing prayer. I'd like to thank you very much. My name is Ahmed Balariba Said. It's been a pleasure, a delight, and a great honor being here to anchor this event today. Looking forward to further engagements with you. Thank you. Thank you.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Muna addu'a Allah Ubangiji ya ji kan ciyaman Alhaji Aminu Alhassan Dantata. Allah ya kyauta bayansa, Allah ya musu albarka. Wannan taro kuma Allah ya sanya masa albarka. Dr. Munzali Dantata da ya yi kokari wajen wannan rubutu, Allah ya ƙara riko da alƙalaminsa, ya ƙara masa haske a rayuwarsa. Mai salatin Annabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam. اللهم صل على محمد وعلى آل محمد كما صليت ورحمت وباركت على سيدنا إبراهيم وعلى آل إبراهيم إنك حميد مجيد وبارك على محمد وعلى آل محمد كما باركت على إبراهيم وعلى آل إبراهيم إنك حميد مجيد. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين. إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين. سبحان ربك رب العزة عما يصفون وسلام على المرسلين والحمد لله رب العالمين.